guys, so, hey, creator of the official Who tag here. Time that I do my own tag. I wasn't even the first to do my own tag. I suck, I know. So, I'll probably give longer answers than most, but I think we all expected that anyway. I'll probably have to splice together the last one onto it, because I think even though I'm the one that came up with the questions, I think I'll need, like, a moment to, like, really stop and think about what my answer for that one will be. Because, I mean, there's so many potential answers for it that the only reason I didn't do this one right away is because of that last one, but I did that on purpose to myself, so I don't know. But anyway, question number 1. How long have you been a Who fan, and how did you get into them? Oh god, since I was like 11 or 12. And it was kind of a, like, in stages thing that I discovered them. So I think the first thing that put them on my radar, I didn't connect at the same time as another thing that put them on my radar, and then it all ended up coming together at once. But I think the first thing that really made me take notice of them, God, I'm dating myself here, back in the days before we all had smartphones, back in the days before Wi-Fi, when we all still had to share a family computer on dial-up, pretty much I would have to wait till, like, late at night when either my parents would be asleep, or I would have to wait until they were, like, busy, and then, like, sneak on the computer. So, this was probably, like, 2 a.m. one night, when I was, like, 11, and, God, this is not setting me up for success here, but, I mean, we all know from my channel here, like, my parents used to be drug addicts, so did my uncle, but he would come over, they'd get high in the front room and everything, and they would stay up watching, like, rock documentaries all night. And meanwhile, I'm taking advantage of this because it means I get to be on the computer if they're busy with that, right? By the way, they're 23 years sober, so calm down. Anyway, so, that said, I'm on the computer. Back in the days of the Hippie Land forums, which are long gone now. Don't ask me why I remember that was even the exact site that I was on. But I kept thinking I was hearing Ringo's voice on the TV in the front room. I was like, nah, I'm probably just hearing what I want to hear. And I'd go back to doing what I was doing. And then I thought I heard it again. I was like, nah, dude, it's just some British guy. There's no way it's Ringo, right? Third time, I finally freaking get up and peek out into the living room and son of a bitch, you guys are watching Ringo without me? What is this? And they're like, why aren't you asleep? I'm like, shut up, what is this? And they're like, well, this is called The Kids Are Alright. Okay, I was like, so, can I watch it since Ringo's in it? They're like, you can if you want. So I watched the rest of it, but unfortunately that was the last of the segments with Ringo in it, I think, by that point, so I only got to see a little bit. But I was intrigued by what I saw of the rest of the film, anyway. And then I wandered back off to the computer, did my thing. That was introduction number 1 that planted the first seed. Introduction number 2 was almost as a joke that got carried way too far, and I had no idea the impact that it would eventually lead. So, in this pre-YouTube world, this is still at age 11 at this point, back in the days before we could even use LimeWire, I don't think even Napster existed yet, because I'm that old. My cousin and I used to call each other every day, because I was the loser who didn't really have friends at that age, outside the family, and we would just, like, call each other after school, and just talk to each other, and we would, like, play music through the phone to each other. And she's telling me about this CD that her dad gave her by The Who called Tommy. And she's like, it's so funny, like, if you look at the disc, there's a naked guy on it, and where his dick would be is where you put your finger through in the middle of the CD. I'm like, no way! There's no way that exists! That can't be real! It is real, and I've never actually tracked down a copy of that version of it. Anyway, but regardless, that was not the part that intrigued me. The part that intrigued me was her telling me that she found probably the world's most ridiculous song on there. And it was Tommy's Holiday Camp, and she played it through the phone for me. And I just freaking died laughing at this thing. So, I'm just like, what is this? And she's just like, it's The Who. I was like, you know, they were in something with Ringo one time. That's so weird that you mentioned them. And this became a running thing every effing day for months. That I was like, can you play that song again? I need a laugh. And she would play it for me through the phone. And then we would go on our conversations. But, like, this was like a recurring theme of going back to of all the damn songs. That was the one that I kept going back to because I thought it was so damn funny. Fast forward a few months. I'm at Rasputin's record store. I'm flipping through used CDs, because I'm a broke bitch. And I find The Who's Tommy, and I'm like, oh my god. Oh my god. I found the thing. This is the album she was telling me about. This is the one that has that song on it. I bought it. I think it was all of $5. Thankfully, it was not a scratched copy or anything. It was wonderful. And of course, I sat and listened to it on repeat till I got sick of it. But then I listened to the rest of the album. And the rest is history. I mean, I felt so seen by this album. With different themes in it. I mean, those of you who don't know me probably don't get that. Those of you who do know exactly what I'm referencing on a couple different levels, but I mean, there's evil Uncle Ernie. I had an evil Uncle Eddie who is the same exact kind of evil. I mean, there was the whole, like, deaf, dumb, and blind boy. Okay, obviously I'm not deaf or mute, but I mean, with my autism, I would go selectively mute on and off growing up. So, I mean, it's not exactly the same thing, but I felt seen by this music, and I really grasped onto this album big time, in a big way, to where this was all I would frigging listen to for I don't even know how long. So, I was probably 12 at the point when I actually found the album. Fast forward about 6 months, just by chance. I don't know why the circumstances matter, but I'm gonna share them anyway. One had had dental work done that day, had a shit ton of Novocaine in my mouth, to the point where, and they were on back teeth, so was kind of numb through here. So I got my ears pierced the same day, because I couldn't feel my earlobes, so I was like, this is a perfect time to do it. They're not pierced anymore, so nobody buy me earrings, but anyway, and I come home, and of all the things to find while channel surfing is the movie of Tommy. I, at that point, did not know there was a movie of Tommy. And unfortunately, it was like about halfway in already. But I think it was around, oh god, what scene was it? I think it was not quite the champagne scene, but I have to admit, that scene alone caught my attention to where I could not take my eyes off the damn screen. I was like, I need to track down this whole movie. I need to see all of it. And you guys know how I am with my obsessive fixations on things. Once I get set on a thing, there is no getting me off of that course until I decide I'm done with that course. So, I was hell-bent on finding this movie, and I did, which is still to this day one of my favorite movies. And just watched it, and watched it, and watched it, and watched it over and over and over every single day for years. I'm not exaggerating that. Like, probably up through about 12 through 16, 17, watched it every single day. Sometimes multiple times a day. Is it because I'm mentally ill? Maybe. But, like, so I had that. And I found the soundtrack album to go along with it. So, when I wasn't busy watching the thing, I was listening to the thing. And if I wasn't listening to that thing, I was listening to the album version. Which is around the point where my dad stepped in. I guess he was all Tommy'd out by this point. He's like, here is another album by The Who that is not Tommy. Of all the things to have come next, it was the It's Hard album. I still question his judgment on how do you go from Tommy to It's Hard with no in between. It doesn't matter because it all worked out. I still ended up a massive fan, but like, come on, that is a weird choice, right? And I mean, I ate that thing up. I think I was oblivious to the fact that Keith Moon wasn't even on it. I didn't even realize that at that point. Latched onto that, played that obsessively to death for a while. Then I think he made me a copy of The Kids Are Alright. Listened to that ad nauseum on loop. Hadn't even seen the film all the way through yet, but it put it back on my radar that, hey, yeah, this is that thing that had Ringo in it. I need to find that now, too. You can see how this went and unfolded into needing to find all of the things and obsess over all of the things and then finding out they all had solo careers too. Oh my god. This is just like the Beatles all over again. I have another band to do this with now. Oh my god. Yeah. I'm one of those. I'm one of those. I'm not sorry. But anyway... So yes, it unfolded in a very obsessive manner, and they still, to date, are my number 2 band behind the Beatles. Sometimes the Monkees tie with them for that number 2 spot, sometimes they're slightly above, sometimes they're slightly below, but the Who always stay pretty steadily right here, just below the Beatles. They're, like, right there with each other. Anyway. Yeah, I spent 11 minutes just on the first question. You can tell how this is gonna go. So, number 2, what is your favorite Who album? So after all that, you're assuming I'm gonna say Tommy, right? It's not Tommy. It should be, but it's not. It's actually The Who by Numbers, which ironically is the album that Pete Townsend refers to as his suicidal album, which probably speaks volumes for me for why that's the go-to that I gravitate to, that speaks the most to me, but it is what it is. Number 3, who is your favorite Who member and why? So this has changed over time. At the start of things, it was Roger Daltrey once upon a time. Mostly because he was Tommy, and at that age, you know, all it took was a pretty face, and it didn't take much else, and just, oh my god, golden god status. Had him freaking literally wallpapered all over my damn room. You think the Sally Simpson scene in the movie was excessive? Ha, ha. You should have seen my teenage room. You should have seen my teenage room. It was pretty much all Roger Daltrey, Ringo Starr, and Paul McCartney, and fuck all else. Just printouts, magazine cuttings everywhere. I've toned it down some in adulthood, but not by much. But anyway, so originally, day one, it was Roger, and then I met him, and it was no longer Roger because he was rude to me on that first meeting. He made up for it the second meeting, but the first one did not go well, but in his defense, it was only 6 days after John Entwistle died. So, you know, I mean, I get it, but just a very emotionally vulnerable 17-year-old getting dissed by her idol to her face. It didn't sit well with me, and I was just like, fine, fuck him then. I like Keith Moon now. Because he's dead and he can't insult me. I stand by that. But also, more importantly, he's a drummer, and I find him hilarious. So, he became the new favorite from age 17 onwards, and it has never swayed from that. Anyway. Number 4, what is your favorite Who song? See, that sounds like such a basic question, but then I'm like, oh my god, even picking one per album is hard for me, so I'm like, if I had to pick just one, ooh, gun to head, I would have to say either 515 or Slip Kid, probably. Although, if you asked me on a different day, I might come up with different answers. I don't know. Just right now, that's what I'm going with. So what is your favorite Who song sung by each member of the band? See, again, this gets tricky. With Pete, part of me wants to say, Blue, Red, and Gray. But I know realistically, it's a legal matter. With Roger, he sings freaking everything, so I'm like, damn it, I really should do, like, one per album, but I'm not gonna sit you through that, so... Oh god, if I had to pick one, just one. Ooh, that's difficult. I'm really trying. I mean, I might just default back to 515. I don't know. I kind of lose my shit every time I hear it. Yeah, well, let's go with that one. For Entwistle, probably My Wife, because it's the one I was the most bummed that I would never get to hear live since he died 6 days before I got to see them the first time. But honorable mention to 905, honorable mention to A Quiet One. I'm trying to think, I want to say there's like at least one more that's a biggie that I'm gonna feel stupid later for not name dropping here, but I'm blanking right now. And for Keith, I mean, it's gotta be Bellboy, even though he doesn't sing the entirety of it. I think I'm gonna give it to Bellboy with an honorable mention to Girl's Eyes. Now, let's see here. Number 6 of the... Oh, wait. No, I'm on number 6. Of the solo careers, whose do you prefer the most and why, and which of the solo albums is your favorite? So that one I'm gonna hand to Pete. I feel like he's got the strongest solo output, although John's is pretty good too. Don't get me wrong. He's got a really good solo output as well, but I feel like Pete's resonates more with me. I feel like there's a lot of shared life experiences that just... They hit for me. So... Now, let me see. That was part 1. And the favorite solo album would probably have to be All the Best Cowboys Have Chinese Eyes. Oh, as for what? Oh, I think I basically answered the why of that, so. Okay. Number 7. What is your favorite Who album cover? And bonus points, what is your favorite album cover from each of the solo careers? Oh, that's another difficult one. I mean, Knee Jerk Reaction wants to hand it to The Kids Were Alright because I love that iconography of the Union Jack flag draped over them, sleeping huddled up under it. But I mean, does that truly count as a Who album, or is that closer to being a soundtrack, or is it closer to being a comp? So I'm like, I don't know if that really, really counts. So although I'm gonna say it, I'm also going to give a secondary one that's an actual album. I'll hand it to Sell Out because it's just such a unique cover, and I love the whole uniqueness of just the whole fake ad campaigns on the front and the back with all 4 of them. I love that. I love the whole concept of that album. I think it's genius, and the little write-ups underneath, like, everything is great. So there's definitely that. Let's see here, and each of the solo covers, for Pete, I think the favorite cover, I want to say Empty Glass, although the Scooped series has, like, some of his hand-painted artwork on all of them, so that's kind of cool, too, but I think I'm gonna go with Empty Glass, though. For Rogers, he's got a few interesting covers that I really like. I mean, obviously, Ride a Rock Horse is really cool, since it's like him as like the centaur. Best Bits is just really cool, with him like holding up like the drill press. Oh, I'm trying to think of the title. It's another 80s one. Oh crap, what was it? Was it Can't Wait to See the Movie? It's something along those lines. It's another one, same time period from Best Bits, even though Best Bits was a comp, but I love the cover regardless. Martyrs and Madmen has a really good one, but again, comp album. Oh, I'm stupid! The self-titled one, Daltrey. Easy peasy. Alright, we'll go with that one. So for John, I think I'm gonna say Too Late the Hero for the cover. Also just for album in general for him. And obviously for Keith, he only ever did one solo album, so it's Two Sides of the Moon by default for that one. Although, hilariously, I did Photoshop way, way, way back in the day. I think I was all of 14. Instead of the girl in the car, I made it me in the car with him, because I could. And I stuck that in with my CD copy, and it is still sitting there to this day, and no, I am not grabbing it to show it is too embarrassing. So anyway, let's see. Number 8, how many times have you seen The Who live? Unfortunately, only 2, and there was only 2 original members both of those times. Had I seen them one tour sooner, I could have seen them with Entwistle, but my dad thought I was still too new of a fan to want to invest that much money in bringing me to that at that point. He wanted to make sure that this wasn't going to be like a flash in the pan, kind of a phase thing that he would regret throwing that much money at later if I outgrew him. Joke's on him, I didn't outgrow him. So, yeah, bummer that I didn't get to go to the 2000 tour, but it is what it is. Similarly, I started seeing Ringo's All-Star Band. One tour sooner, I could have seen Entwistle there too, so... The universe just really didn't want me to see him for some reason, and I don't know why. Anyway. So, number 9. What do you think the ultimate live Who performance was? I backed myself into a corner with that. So, part of me wants to say the Isle of Wight Festival. Part of me wants to say the Charlton show from, I believe it was 74, May 18th. Part of me wants to say, I know, I'm all over the place. The show that's in, bits of it are in The Kids Are Alright, you know, with the iconic Won't Get Fooled Again scene with the lasers and all at Shepperton Studios, but I don't know if that was in front of a real audience or not, so I don't know if that counts. But, I think that was May 25th, 78. So there's that one. Those are 3 pretty solid ones. I could keep going, but I think those are 3 pretty solid answers. It's hard to give it just one. Anyway. Number 10. Favorite Who music video. Oh, there's a bunch of good ones. Why did I do this to myself? So... Happy Jack is always a fun one, with them being like the fake mob, well, Roger being the fake mobster, and the other 3 just being random hooligans. The video for The Kids Are Alright itself, not the movie, the song, where they're like on the river doing it. I always loved that one a lot. But I also really loved the video for Join Together. Can't tell you why, I just do. Goodness, I'm thinking about this. I really should have planned ahead. I could hit stop, think about it, and come back, but I'm not going to. Yeah, we'll just go with those 3, I think. So, let me think here. Do you prefer 60s or 70s Who? It's hard, because, I mean, I love both so much. But I think if I had to put one above the other, currently I would put 70s higher, although there has definitely been points where I would put 60s higher. It just depends on my mood at any given time, but right now I put 70s higher. But I love both. Of the films, Tommy or Quadrophenia? I think we covered that. Definitely Tommy. I'm not a fan of the Quadrophenia movie. I'm gonna be real. Mostly because I was so spoiled by Tommy, and it's starring The Who in it, that when Quadrophenia had none of them in it, just the music, I felt ripped off. So, I don't know, if they were actually in it, I'd probably love that one, maybe more, but since they're not, automatically goes to Tommy. Now, of the albums, Tommy or Quadrophenia? This is where it flips, and actually, I think in terms of the albums alone, I think Quadrophenia actually is a stronger album. Feels sacrilege saying that given what all Tommy means to me, but I think I have to give it to Quad. Let's see here. Number 14, The Kids Are Alright or 30 Years of Maximum R&B? I'm gonna give it to 30 Years of Maximum R&B, both because it's a longer documentary, and also because the CD set has 4 discs with it. So you get more content, and feel it's more inclusive just overall of their career, at least up till that point. Whereas The Kids Are Alright was a time capsule of just the Moon years, basically, because it was made before he died. So it pretty much is self-limiting in that way. Whereas the other goes a lot further. And includes a lot more. Monterey Pop or Woodstock? I think I might actually say Monterey Pop, believe it or not. Isle of Wight Festival or Live at Leeds? For me, that's a no-brainer. It's Isle of Wight for me, even though I know practically everyone else on the planet always says Live at Leeds. For me, I had Isle of Wight first, and I still, to this day, prefer it over Live at Leeds. Let's see here. My Generation or a quick one? I'm gonna go with My Generation. There's a lot of skip it songs on a quick one for me. Whereas My Generation, I pretty much listen straight through. It's Hard or Face Dances? See, for a long time I would have thought this would have been a no-brainer. Because everyone shits on It's Hard so badly that I think I started to buy into that narrative for a while, even though I had the thing, and I loved the thing. But I'm very easily influenced. The power of influence is super strong with me. So just hearing people say that for years, I kind of absorbed it for a long time. Until I revisited it just this year and was like, wait, this album isn't bad. This actually has a lot of great songs on here. Why does everyone shit on this? But on the other hand, I adore the Face Dances album. So, I mean, I love both, but I am gonna hand it to Face Dances still, but I feel like It's Hard gets an unfair bad rap. Odds and Sods or Meaty Beaty Big and Bouncy? For me, it's gonna be Odds and Sods. Partly because I grew up with the CD version that has bonus tracks on it, and I feel like those bonus tracks are what makes it for me. But I do love the name of the other. Who's Next or Who Are You? You know, up until my 30s, I would have probably said Who's Next. Granted, most of the greatest hits come from Who's Next, so that feels like a no-brainer that most people pick that. And for a long time, the Who Are You album just didn't really resonate with me. And then it was like clockwork. I hit 30 and something went on in my head like a light bulb, and I suddenly understood this album on a level that never made sense to me prior to that point. I don't know what happened. I don't know why. But all of a sudden, I view it with a new appreciation, like this past decade, that I did not in like the nearly, I don't know, 20 years leading up to it. So I think now I would actually say Who Are You over Who's Next, for me personally. But that's just me. Sellout or Who by Numbers? Oh, why did I make that so hard? I love them both. But Who by Numbers is my favorite, so I'm gonna hand it to that one. But I do also adore Sellout. And I think Sellout's actually my dad's favorite Who album, so it's special to me on that level too. Who's Missing or Two's Missing? So I'm the weirdo who actually managed to find not only just Two's Missing, but I found it first. I found it before Who's Missing. But Who's Missing is definitely better. So, Endless Wire or Who? Confession time, I actually don't like Endless Wire. It's the one Who album where I can't get into that one. I want to like it, but I just don't. I don't know if it's going to be another thing like Who Are You, where for the longest time I felt that way about it until suddenly I did, and now I love the thing. So there's hope for it maybe one day, but so far, nothing. So by default, it's going to go to Who, which I still feel is a strong album, even though no one talks about it. Do you listen to the post-Moon albums, and if so, which is your favorite? Live albums count too. So, I do listen to them, even though I love Mooney. I think we already covered this. I prefer Face Dances, and out of all the post-Moon albums, yeah, it's still Face Dances. What is your favorite character from a Who song? I mean, there's many of those. I feel like I resonate a lot with Sally Simpson, so probably her. With an honorable mention, as weird as this is, hear me out, the farmer character in Now I'm a Farmer. I don't know why I love it so much, but I freaking do. Um, so I adore that one. But I also adore the Bellboy. So, I guess that's 3. Have you ever seen a live production of Tommy? So this is a weird one to answer because while I have never gone to see a production of Tommy, I have been in a production of Tommy. Granted, it was just community theater, but I was the Acid Queen, so I've been in it, but I've not actually gone and properly seen a production of it outside of that. Wish one would come near me. I would in a heartbeat. But anyway. 27. What is your favorite deep cut Who song that doesn't get enough love? That one is a no-brainer for me. That would be Dreaming from the Waist. 28. Do you associate certain Who albums with certain seasons, either thematically or just when you tend to listen to them the most? If so, which ones do you link them with? Yes, I know, the autism is showing. Shut up. Anyway, so for me, most Who albums, I would probably say at least 80% of them, for me, are winter albums. Don't know why. They are. Granted, some of that might be just the mental link of when I acquired said albums, and it feeling like now they belong with that season. Got a lot of them as gifts for Christmas or birthday. My birthday's only 2 weeks after Christmas, so winter by default. But, I mean, going down the list, like My Generation, winter album. Quick one, winter album. Who Sellout, winter album. Tommy is late summer, early, no, what the fuck am I saying? That's a summer album to me. Correction, no. Soundtrack version is a summer album. Album version is an autumnal album. Yes, I am that anal retentive. No, I don't care. Who's next? Spring. I don't know why. Quadrophenia, winter album. Who by Numbers, autumn album. Who Are You, winter album. Face Dances, summer album. It's Hard, winter album. Endless Wire, I honestly don't listen to enough to really assign it one, so skip. Who, winter album because it came out in December, so by default, winter album. Live at Leeds, spring. Who's Last? I don't know that I associate that one with anything. Live at the Isle of Wight, winter/spring. BBC Sessions, winter album. You can see how this is going. Most of them are winter for me, so we're gonna, stop playing this stupid game. Anyway. If there's any I missed that you feel you want me to answer, let me know down below. Anyways, where were we at? Number 29. Who do you feel is the better lyricist, Townsend or Entwistle? For me, no-brainer, it's Townsend. I include this question because my best friend is a diehard Entwistle fan, and we have had this battle year after year after year. Neither one of us are willing to budge on that, but we have introduced each other to more of the other's solo repertoires, as it were. So, but for me, Team Pete all the way on the solo stuff. Number 30. What is your favorite Moon the Loon story? God, there's so many of them, but I thought about this for which one I wanted to include in this video, and I think that would have to go to a fandom collision for me between Beatles and Who in that. Well, actually, there's a couple I could have gone with that, but probably Keith's penchant for dressing up as Santa Claus, going to Ringo's house on Christmas, and bringing he and his children presents. Expensive presents, like, a whole-ass jukebox, and then sending Ringo the bill. Yep. But he was Uncle Keith to the kids. I mean, I think he's even Zach Starkey's godfather. But he would do this over and over and over again until Ringo finally got sick of getting stiffed with the bill every single time and finally said, "Stop giving me presents, I can't afford it." I love it. Anyway, outside of The Who, what are your favorite acting roles both Roger and Keith did? Cameos count. So for Roger, probably gonna give it to Liz Domania. honorable mention to Mick Vicker. And then for Keith, ooh. I mean, although it's basically just a cameo role, I loved his role in Sextet as the gay dress designer. But I mean, also in what was it? That'll Be the Day, I think? It's either That'll Be the Day or Stardust. Or was it both? I mix up which one's which, but also that. What is your favorite piece of John Entwistle's art? If you're unfamiliar with his artwork, feel free to skip. I'm familiar with a lot of it. So for me, it's going to be his Generations piece, where he basically drew The Who in different generations of the band, with an honorable mention to his portrait of Jimi Hendrix, and another one to, I believe he did one of Ronnie Wood that was just exceptionally great. But he made a comment about how all you have to do is change the nose, and Ronnie Wood becomes Rod Stewart. And I will never unsee that shit as long as I live now. If you've read them, which of Pete Townshend's books is your favorite? Well, I've read all three. But I think my favorite, just by default, would have to go to Who I Am, the autobiography. Horse's Neck is pretty effed up. Let's call a spade a spade. And then Age of Anxiety, admittedly, I'm still reading. But of what I've read, I think I still prefer Who I Am. Number 34, what do you feel is the ultimate connecting theme throughout The Who's music? Rebellion, mostly. Not necessarily teenage rebellion, mind you. It's rebellion at different ages and phases through life in different ways. And then finally, The Who's lyrics tend to hit differently and resonate differently at different stages throughout our lives. Which lyrics currently resonate the most deeply with where you are at in life right now? How Many Friends seems very apropos at the moment. Trying to think what else. I know I said I'd hit stop on this and give it a better think, but I'm One from Quadrophenia hits pretty deep with the lyrics in that. However Much I Booze, self-explanatory. Goodness. There's a lot. There's a lot. My brain keeps trying to jump to solo lyrics. I'm like, no. Stay focused. I guess we could keep it to those three, even though there's definitely more than just those. There's lots of them. Had Enough from the Who Are You album. Not to be confused with I've Had Enough from Quadrophenia. They are very different vibes on these two songs, despite the almost identical titles. Another Tricky Day resonates. A Quiet One resonates. See, like I said, it's like there's a lot of them. I could be here all day if I think about it hard enough, but yeah, I think I'll wrap it up here. Yeah, 38 minutes to answer my own tag. That's why I'm like, yes, it is a challenging tag, but I wanted to give thought-provoking questions for people to actually think about The Who, since they are overlooked in the classic rock fandom, and I don't know why. I think people take them for granted, even though we all admit they're rock gods and they're pillars of the classic rock fandom, but it's almost become like the Beatles, where just, yeah, we know they're there, but people tend to take it for granted and try to dig deeper so they can feel different or something. I don't know, but I feel like they deserve more people talking about them. Hopefully this tag can be a conduit to that, but these were my answers. Thank you if you stuck around through all of my rambling. You are awesome. And if you've not already done the tag and you want to, if you should take this on, let me know down in the comments that you've done it if you haven't already, because I will 100% go check out your answers as well.